I should have put these safety glasses on sooner. I can only imagine how much gunk is all over my face, but this is where we're at. I'm not gonna lie, this is actually kind of like a bronze color because of all the rust, and I'm actually kind of digging the rustic look to it. It's not something I might like. It'd be make a really nice clear coat. Kind of gives it, I forget what they call that, what they call that look, but actually in person, I don't know how well you guys can see that, but it actually looks really good. I really like that. There's a few spots, so the idea was not to get this perfect. As you can see around these bolts, I can't get in there all that well. There's a few spots like right here. There's some crevices in here. The idea was to get most of, like, the biggest majority of it off. That way, whenever I start pulling the timing cover and stuff, I don't have gunk falling down in there. And then after I put it back together, I can do a final cleaning up of it and then paint it. And I'm not, don't worry, I'm not hitting the head surface with any of with the wire brush at all. I'm not that stupid. I will go through, clean it all up with rubbing alcohol and some wipes. Like, all that's gonna get cleaned up. On water jacket spots here, my wire brushes are old. If you can look at them, like, you can tell by looking at them, they're supposed to be like this thin, and if you see how thick that is, so they're not as harsh as what they could be, which is good because I'm not removing too much material. As you can see, so right here and right here, there's still some old gasket material, so I was strictly just holding the drill on there just light enough for it to remove the paper, and as soon as I removed the biggest part of the paper, I stopped working on it. And on areas like this is good, you can use RTV on these spots because RTV can fill the grooves. You could probably get away with doing that on the China wall here on the front and back as well. This one's not all that bad. The guy, when I removed the old intake off here, there was gaskets there and no RTV. So there's not, like, removing it's not very difficult. There's not really, it might take some like 400 grit sandpaper to it super quick, but nothing awful at all. Let's see, I had left all the lifters in here. There's actually only one of them's out, but nothing's gonna get down in that one because the China wall is right there. But I left all the lifters in there to help prevent stuff from going down in there as well. I did put some thought into that. All these other ports and stuff, we'll blow them all out. They'll get taken care of. This right here, this is all just a terrible mess. It's gonna suck. I'll rotate the motor up on its side properly for that. Trying to think what else. Oh yeah, I gotta remove the oil filter. Don't worry, I did not put that oil filter on there. That was the previous owner. So anyways, that reminds me, I do need to go ahead and drain the oil, so I'll do that and then I'll get back to wire brushing all this. So again, I did not think to put the glasses on again. I thought I was gonna be fine for this one since everything was angled the way it is. But this is where we're currently at. There are spots like this. All this is at least loose, and so I'll blow it off with the air compressor and I'll blow it down at an angle that way none of it goes up. Again, there's some of it's inevitable and it's gonna happen. So we can clean out the cylinders. I'm not too worried about that. There's still some spots like here, and I need to come in and remove this bracket. It should just be bolted in with that bolt. That way I can get all that clean. I need to do the underside and then just the driver's side of it. The back of the oil pan will have to wait till the oil pan's off, which is not a big deal. My biggest worry was cleaning up around all the gasket surfaces. That way when I remove these items, not all that gunk that's sitting in those crevices, like around here on the oil pan, did not want all that to fall in there. I'll clean out the oil pan anyway, but the best I could save it, or the least I could get in there, the better. I also did around the fuel pump here, because I'll be taking this off and cleaning all that up as well, replacing those gaskets and all that great stuff. So that's where we're at for now. The drill needs to cool down, so while it cools down, I don't have any purple power, I don't think, not in a spray bottle. So I'll probably work on putting some in a spray bottle and spraying down the other side and maybe some of these undersides. I should have done that yesterday, but we'll go ahead and I'll work on doing that. That way everything gets a little bit degreased and it might make it clean up a little bit easier, because I would like to run the wire wheel over all this one more time, just to be safe. And then I'll degrease it, of course, before I paint it. The paint's not even here, only the primer's here. So I still have to get painter's tape to tape all all that off. So like where the head mating surface and stuff like that. But anyways, so that's where we're at. So I'm gonna let this cool down and do some of the small stuff real quick. That doesn't matter if I do it off camera or not. So I'll do that real quick, and then I'll turn the camera back on whenever it's time to wrap up cleaning it, I guess. All right, so it is the next day. I did a trip to Walmart this morning, or made a trip to Walmart this morning. I picked up, so I just use, because I just go through them so much, I do use the Hart wire brushes. It's like $7 for a whole kit here, and for an extra like $4 I picked up this bigger one, and this bigger one did a way better job. The longer wires get in, like they can get into better crevices rather than the small ones. So let me show you guys where we're at, because this looks totally different, but this is where it is currently at. It is kind of hard to see, I know. Let me see if I can show you over here. If you guys can see, it did run oil all the way down, because I cleaned up the cylinders again and then went ahead and re-oiled them and turned it over, and it dumped the oil out. But that's not a big deal, because all the dirt is off at this point, and that oil is only going to stop it from surface rusting or flash rusting on me. So is what I'm actually getting ready to do. I think I'm ready to go ahead and turn this over and start the teardown process. So yeah, but yeah, this looks really great, and this is just proof that for just a few bucks you guys can do stuff the right way. I know this isn't the right way, this isn't going to a machine shop, but you can still do stuff and start from scratch and do a solid paint job on your engine without spending thousands of dollars at a machine shop. So I'm actually really excited about this. It actually looks really good. I really think this is going to turn out to be good evidence for you guys and good proof of concept. These wire brush kits even come with these, if I can find one, these smaller wire wheels that fit perfectly in here. They don't when it's not spinning, but when it's spinning, you can get it to go in and out. Then I just have to wipe everything down, which I'm going to use rubbing alcohol for eventually when we get there. But this is completely shiny now. So, really cool. I guess I'm gonna flip it over and pull the oil pan off now. Okay, so after struggling for a minute, we got the engine turned over. To remove this is all you have to do. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's like 18 bolts. There's 4 that are 1/2 inch, and those ones are right here, these corner bolts. And then there's 2 in the back as well. And then the rest along the side, I believe, are 7/16. Pretty easy. I'll just use a drill with some with a long socket, or not long socket, with a long extension is what I'm trying to say. And this gives you a better view. So again, this is all just runoff oil from oil in the cylinders, and me rotating it over. That's all actually pretty well cleaned. You can actually see it's silver. It's not, there's no rust surface there. I'm gonna do one more over with the wire brush before I paint any of this anyway, and this oil pan is gonna get cleaned up more as well. I'm going to take it inside, clean it in some hot water, all that great stuff, clean out the inside of it. When we pull this off, hopefully we don't find any metal chunks or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off real quick, and then I'll keep you guys posted. All right, and all the bolts are out of the oil pan, so before I pull it, I like to go around and tap it with my mallet, because this pan has been on there for Lord only knows how long, and it just makes it a little bit easier. So let's give it a few love taps. And as you can see, it's already loose, so we can go and get that out of here. Let's pop it up and see how bad this is. There's some grudge down in here, but let me grab my light real quick and show you guys. So, a lot of sludge, but no metal shavings, which is great because I have no clue how many miles are on this engine. Let's go and sit the pan down. It's loud and I'm sorry. Again, I have no clue. So someone's obviously, well, can't tell if this is a one-piece gasket. Or a two-piece. It's got to be two-piece because this is cork and that's rubber. So this might still be the original gasket. And another great place to look is right here on the oil filter screen, because any metal chunks would have been picked up. But we do have a new oil pump, so I'm not overly worried about it. Yeah, if you want to see if there's any metal or any bearing material or anything as such, a great place to check is the oil screen on top of the bottom of the pan. Everything... There's not any play in these bearings or piston caps. There should be a little bit of play every now and then. Like you want a little bit. You don't want them to be super tight, which these are actually tight. So I don't know. But I don't know. I guess it depends on what the clearances were made for. There's some scratching here, and I'm not quite sure what it's from. I'm gonna take a closer look, and I'll keep you guys posted. All right, let's go ahead and jump into replacing the rear main. I had to wait on some parts to come in, so it has been a while since I worked on this. But anyways, here we are. So in order to pull off the rear main cap, you have a bolt here and a bolt here. I have already taken mine out, and then normally they're pretty stuck, so I put the oil pump bolt back in, and then I give the bolt a few love taps there, and then just like that, it comes out, and we can replace the old rear main. So in order to do that, is what you need is, of course, you need new rear main bolts, which we have here. I'm running grade 8 bolts. There's a lot of guys on the line that will say grade 8 are too stiff and they won't allow for flex, but in all honesty, if your rear main cap is flexing that much, you have other issues. So you should be fine. A lot of guys will argue to run grade 5. Grade 8 will work just fine. You need a new rear main seal. As you guys see here, this is a two-piece, and then oil cap bolts. Not oil cap, oil pump bolts, my bad. So let me go ahead and pull out this old one real quick, and then I'll show you the process of putting the new one in. Okay, so now with our rear main seals here, one thing to note is that this right here, let me see if I can use a screwdriver to point out. So you have two sealing lips. You have this one right here. It's kind of hard to see, really hard to point out, but you got this one here. This is on the back. And then you have this one that has this gap right here, like I can fit the screwdriver between it. This gap right here, this lip is the front. So it goes facing the front of the engine. So there's two lips here. There's this one, and then there's this one, and they are different sizes. And if you read the instructions, it'll say to put the front or the big or the large sealing lip towards the front of the engine. It is referring to this one here, right here. It is not referring to these here. And it's referring to the one right here with that flap right there. That is the one it is referring to. This back one right here, the small one, keeps dust from entering the engine, and this one keeps the oil out. So the first thing I like to do is I like to drop some assembly lube. We'll go this way over here. Drop some along the top as well. That way nothing's running dry. Okay, we got some dripping down there. All right, then so with that noted is what we're gonna do is we literally just take this and we sit it on like so. And then it should, ideally, if we can get it started, just rotate around like so. There we go. Okay, so we got it started there. Perfect. Okay. So from there is what you do is you take this tab that comes with your rear main seal, and you're going to offset one of these sides. Does not matter which side. We're going to go with this one. We offset about 3/8 of an inch. So we push that around, and we're going to push it around until we can stick this down in there, and it makes contact. So we got a little bit more there, and we need to go just ever so slightly. Right there looks good, and you can check that over here. And we're going to do just a tad bit more, and that should be it. Okay, yep, perfect. Now is what we're going to do. We'll set that to the side. We're going to take this rear main seal, and we have assembly lube right there, and we're going to add some dabs of RTV right here on the ends, just like so. Okay, and just so you guys can see, this is ultra black Permatex RTV. So it does not take a whole lot at all, just enough to glue those sides together. We lost our screwdriver, but that's okay. And so we're going to make those meet there, and just like that, and then they are now sitting together. Now all you're going to do is take your rear main right here, your rear main cap anyway, and again we're going to put some assembly lube across the crank. Okay, and set that off to the side. And I like to add just a little bit of RTV right on the ends here. This is something I had read on a forum, and it doesn't do any harm to do. You just don't want to add too much to where it can interfere with how flat it sits up against everything. Okay, might help if we put that on the right way. I am not the smartest person, wasn't looking. Okay, there we go. So now that we have this facing the right way, it's kind of hard to see whenever I have my GoPro strapped to my chest. I can't see through it, so it's kind of hard to see. We're gonna slide in our new bolts here, hand thread those, and I'm gonna check the Summit Racing forum page, but I believe these get torqued down to 70 foot-pounds, so I'll double check that and then get them torqued down. All right, so I was correct. They do get torqued down to 70 foot-pounds. So we'll do that real quick. I like to get about close to halfway there and then come over here and do the other side. That way we're torquing everything down evenly. Okay, that one's close, so let's come over here and do this one. Okay. Finish this one up. All right, and on to the oil pump. Okay, so we have everything we need here. We got the new oil pump, so we'll get that started in there and get that seated down right there. We got our new bolt as well, and so we're gonna get that started, and then we'll grab our torque wrench, and this gets torqued down to 65 foot-pounds of torque. So just about there. Okay. And let's go ahead and turn this back 5 foot-pounds because there's 66 and there's 65. All right, so let's go and get this torqued. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, so after all the bottom end stuff is taken care of, we have new rear main seal, we have new oil pump. What's left is we need to put the oil pan on, but before we can do that, because this lip is here, so the timing cover and the oil pan gasket are interlocked together. So we need to go ahead and take care of all the cam and stuff. So in order to remove the timing cover to get to the cam, there's just a few 7/16 bolts that run all the way around. And so that's something you guys need to see on camera. Pretty simple. Let me take those off, and then I'll show you guys what to do from there. Okay, we have the timing cover off. We went ahead and went around and removed the old gasket, and all that's left is to go ahead and pull off these pulleys. And if you can tell, there is a lot. If you know anything about timing chains, you know that there is a lot of slack here. There's almost enough. It's gonna be really hard to show you. There's almost enough to lift it off and completely rotate a tooth. So I would not be shocked if this has or hasn't skipped a tooth. And another issue, actually looking at it, I just spotted this. So earlier small blocks use these plastic timing gears, as you can tell here, versus, let's see if I find it here, where it's metal. So aftermarket has metal, and here we have plastic, and right here, this tooth actually chipped. That could be wear and tear. I don't know, it could be because it skipped a tooth and knocked it off. But anyways, in order to get this off, you have 3 1/2-inch bolts right here, and then the gear comes off, and then you can put those bolts back in or find some longer ones and pull the cam out. And then you need a special puller in order to remove the crankshaft gear, which I'm taking a look at here, just trying to see. So, which we're gonna replace today as well, because we got a new one for that. And I'm not gonna be degreeing this cam. I want to, but there's just no reason to with this build. We won't be doing it. So, and I don't have the right gear for it in order to do that. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and remove this cam. Okay, so with the timing gear off, I went ahead and added the puller to the crankshaft gear, and I rotated the engine. That way you guys could see me do both. That way I didn't have to try to do this with the GoPro attached. And yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and pull the camshaft. This does, if you have a stuck cam, which hopefully you don't, if you do, you can add another bolt and it makes it just a little bit easier. But that being said, ours is not all that stuck. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this out. So I really wanted to show removing the cam, but I had such a hard time getting out for the first time ever. I've never had an issue with it, but essentially is what I did after I pulled the gear off. I threaded this bolt in and used it to kind of as an extra leverage. If they're really stuck, you can add an extra bolt in there. These bearings are actually surprisingly really tight, and I just had a really hard time doing it, and having the camera on was just making me more nervous. So anyways, this is off, and we're gonna go ahead and just toss that to the side because we no longer need it anymore. And in order to remove this cam gear, we just add on, if we can get this to stay on, hang on one second. Really hard to do because my hands are all greasy, or oily anyways. Okay, so we get the arms on there like so, and we start to tighten it. And then we throw this on there. We start tightening, and that should start coming off. Like so. Okay, and sometimes it does that, and you have to use your hands to hold it on there. Sometimes I've also used a pry bar in between the arms to do it, but this one's working just fine. Well, it was. Might have to break out a pry bar. Let's see what we got. We have a hammer. I wonder if we can fit a hammer through there. We cannot. I wonder if we can do something like this. My chair is sliding everywhere. Well, then that happens. So hopefully you guys get the idea. I'm gonna do this with the GoPro off because this is kind of hard to do. But so we're gonna go ahead and just take that off, and then I'll turn the GoPro back on. Okay, so as you guys could tell, I was struggling there for the last bit, removing the crank gear and the camshaft. It's typically a straightforward thing. This is the first time I've ever had an issue with it, but this time it just wasn't going well for me. So with the camshaft removed and the crankshaft gear off, we're gonna go ahead and throw the new cam in. So here goes nothing on that. This should go a lot smoother. For this, I'm gonna use some Lucas Oil Assembly Lube, which we got right here, which this stuff lasts forever. So we're gonna use that on the new cam, and then we're gonna throw it in there. All right, got the Assembly Lube on there. We'll put some on this front bearing as well. And you don't really have to put it on the camshaft lobes here, but since you're not going to be seeing this cam again, hopefully, you want to go ahead and do it for the break-in or first start up. This obviously is going in a lot smoother than the removal did. This is when it gets kind of tricky here. Those last few lobes. There it is. Just like that, it's in there. So let me get my hands cleaned up, and then we'll throw on the gears. So we have our timing gear installed here on our crankshaft and our cam. We went dot to dot. Now there are some arguments that this should be at 12 o'clock and this one should be 12 o'clock because right here is top dead center at number 6. Theoretically, or technically speaking, this is top dead at number 6. And so there's a lot that goes into it, but for simplicity, we're doing dot to dot just because we're not going for high horsepower here. The exact timing isn't going to be precise. It's not needed here. It's not the correct application for it on my Nova, the 327 over there. But anyways, what I do like to run is this Comp Cam's locking plate. Part number is 4605. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's just cheap insurance when it comes to making sure you don't lose your cam doesn't back out, doesn't move forward, doesn't shift forward at all on you. This is just extra insurance. So we're gonna get it installed, and all you do is you put it in there, and then it's got these tabs here, and you just bend them up around the bolt the head of the bolt. So we're gonna get this installed, and then we are probably gonna wrap up this video, and the next time I'll show you guys closing everything up with gaskets and painting it. So let me get this finished up and I'll show you what the end product is. Okay, and our comp cams locking plate is installed. As you guys can see here, you bend these tabs up around the bolt. This part is like $4 or $5. It's cheap insurance, and if you want to be extra secure, throw some Loctite over the bolts or on the end of the bolts, and they won't be going anywhere. This isn't going to be a high horsepower build or even a high RPM build, so I'm not worried about that here. Trying to think what else we have. Our dot here on the crankshaft is at 12 o'clock, and our dot here is at 6 o'clock. Now, again, there's arguments about where you should have them pointed. Ideally, or I think the best method is going to be to have them both pointed straight up at the 12 o'clock position. But for a build like this, I'm not too worried about it. I'm not going into great detail about it. The timing does not have to be exact, perfect. I mean, I don't even have the correct crank gear I need in order to degree the cam. So again, this is just a straightforward cam swap on it. In the next video, I'll show you guys sealing up the engine, including head gaskets, oil pan, timing cover, all that stuff. Intake manifold, hopefully we'll have that by then. But anyways, trying to think, I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions about anything I went over, or maybe some pointers or something that I missed out on, just let me know down below. And I'm never against learning anything, and I hope you guys are able to take something away from this. But anyways, again, this is just part one of it. Hopefully you guys learned something. I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.